All right,
Y'all
hello.
still
Everyone.
talking about starting?
We're starting.
Right,
Yes.
so yeah.
This is Fact Podcast number 3 after minor technical difficulties. We are now back. There are still no rules. It is myself, Hoya, Wiper, and BobboFitos. And, all right, Bobo, we're going to try and do the name of BobboFitos, and hopefully
I'll
every-
tell the story for sure. And Mike wanted me to stress this as well. I wanted to just weigh in on some politics of the fack, and specifically Ike Stoy, because I don't think anyone debates as far as raids. I mean, he earned the nickname. He really did earn it for basically just AIDSing up anything he touched, and he probably posted per day more than anybody even, I don't know, Colin posts a lot, but it wasn't even close. The
I
amount
was
of
pretty
destruction.
convinced that he was in on a joke for a while. That, like, he was just trying to get under whoever's skin on a given day. That was just his goal that day.
No, he's the joke, I think.
Yeah.
There's no other joke. It's just he's the joke. But anyway, so about Ike's, and again, I think this is what I have to say about it. Is 2+2 is a pretty great forum. There's a lot of positive either reinforcement or just humor or even just education as far as learning about different topics. I mean, it's been a great resource, I would think. Ike's Stoy, though, I don't think anybody in sporting events actually enjoys him. Okay, they tolerate him or they actively dislike him, and he has this like bluster attitude, like, oh, haha, that's okay. But the truth of it is actually nobody really likes him, and so I really wonder like what drives him to post. And the reason I said is I had no beef with him. All right, I was fine, and then all of a sudden I started saying this is during the World Cup time. I started saying things about like Germany or United States, and he just like goes off this authoritarian rant where it's like, oh,
Oh no.
Uh-oh.
Ike's Toys is
I,
happy.
He's
I
back.
was gonna, I
He's
was gonna
back.
say like
Ike's
you can
Toys
pick
is
up
happy.
like any one of us could pick up on that.
Ike's Toys is DDoSing him right now.
Yeah. No. Ike's Toys probably
no,
doesn't even know what a
I'm
DDoS is.
here. I think I'm gonna turn my camera off. Maybe that could be it. Is that okay?
Seems like it.
Sounds better.
All right, I'm sorry, guys. It's
There you go.
I'll go. I wanted to wear Team Mexico for a little bit. Have some all the Mexican 2+2ers earn their support. Vote for
Viva
me.
La Cruzin.
Yeah, exactly. So and OG Kush. I doubt he'll watch this, but anyway, I don't know how much of my thing about Ike Stoys got cut off, but my whole point of it is I don't understand what drives him to post when pretty much everybody dislikes him, and even the points where he might pretend to be an authority, people still kind of disregard what he has to say. So it's very surprising to me. That's all I have to say about it. I don't know.
I think he's in a bad position because he is not an authority on anything. He's like almost an authority on a few things, but he's truly pretty brainless on most things. So I think the dude just has no idea what the fuck he's talking about pretty much ever.
The thing that
Well,
stands out.
that's the point of it. Like that's what makes no sense is he isn't an authority on anything, and everyone makes a joke about Dr. Ike's and everything, but he's not even an authority on anything medical. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me.
He isn't.
The part that stood out to me was I tried to like not interact with him because I know that I tend to like to argue, and so does he, and no one wants to read that, so I try to not do it.
But dude,
I
the
engaged
fact
him
that
like.
he would even argue with you, like if you wanted to argue a legal argument with him, he would be willing to do it. He would
Oh,
be,
it just happened. It just happened. He was saying something about capital punishment, and I was like, actually, and I said like two things that I know to be true, and he just came at me. And what I remember is that the first time I ever mentioned him, I was like, Ike, the reason I don't interact with you is that I just do not enjoy reading your posts and don't like them.
yeah.
And it's not that I don't like him. I don't like his posts, but he cannot help himself from doubling and tripling and quadrupling down on his post style when someone doesn't like his post. So he just like magnifies and escalates his worst traits and thereby hides any of his good traits, whatever they are.
I mean, we're not trying to be super rude here on a podcast or anything, but I mean, it's like on one hand, you're arguing with a public defender from Georgetown Law School who now owns his own private law firm. I mean, it's like, why would you want to have that argument at times? Like, you should probably just pick another topic, like another challenger, another contender, but no, it's like, I'll just take this to the end and never
Do you guys all have favorite teams that you root for or whatever? And not just like per sport, but you have your favorite team. And the favorite team that I know I can't not watch is Michigan football, right? So like Michigan football is what I live and die for. coming up in the summer and going into the fall, do you guys also have people that root for who you root for, like your favorite team, that you also, as much as you think Dr. Ikes is a dick, like I can't hate him as much as you guys because he has the same love for the same team that I do.
Yeah,
And it
yeah.
sucks. It's hard for me. It's
I don't
hard because
hate-
I believe
No,
I believe everything that you guys are saying, and I don't go into the politics forum. I try not to, and I know that the dude's a dick. But
Actually, I once
also know
defended
that
him
we
there.
would get along just because of the fact that he roots for Michigan football like I do.
Well, the thing is, I don't hate him, and I don't think he's necessarily a dick. He's in fact probably a pretty nice dude. But it's like we're on a forum where you get to like act on your personality traits that have to do with debating, right? And it just magnifies his really strong commitment to debating everything into the ground.
Oh, he hates everything. He hates
Well,
everything.
for like at least in TZ and whatnot, the best example for me, and I can relate to this on this level, Wiper, is EpiPen, who obviously has been perma, and who knows if he's come back or not. But
But I
he's
like
a really
him,
big
too.
Celtics fan, and our mutual interest, I guess the best way of putting it, in the Celtics. I always have gotten along with EpiPen. I actually like EpiPen, but I can understand why he got the ban, and I mean there's no doubt about all that. But I never disliked him that much because, again, we both, Boston homers. So I can understand if you kind of with that angle with Ikes. It's just Ikes is a little bit more obtuse is the best way of putting it. I don't know. I just don't see why he really. I mean, Larry, you were saying as far as arguing with Mike that he's a public defender. Like, how can he possibly have a leg to stand on?
He's not a public defender, but he has experience. It's just like he's had experience after experience after experience.
Right.
Set him up for this question, but yeah.
Yeah.
Has anybody
Oh, well.
seen his wife? Like, is she really fat? Like, from what I understand?
I have no
it makes
idea.
sense. It would make sense if she was, like, and I've read that she has fat ankles or some shit. Like, is she fat?
No, he has fat ankles.
No, I think she. I mean, here's
Yeah,
where I
I
have a
know
little bit
that.
of compassion. I think he's posted that she has like some medical problems and stuff. So
Well, doesn't that
I don't
mean
think
fat?
she's overweight though.
No, I think it's like he's posted that she's had some like hip disorder. Look, I mean, I
That
don't
sounds like
particularly
she's
enjoy
fat.
the guy, but I have no like, as I agree with Hoya that like I don't like hate him or anything like that. That would be like way too strong. I don't think there's anybody in the forum I hate. There's a lot of people I can't stand, but yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of a low blow because I think she's sick or something. I don't know.
Yeah. No.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think we know anything about her, except I do recall he did post something that she was having like a hip
Surgery.
issue. Yeah, so I mean, something happened. I remember he mentioned something that had to do with like a fairly complicated medical thing. So
Right.
that sucks. I have no idea what she looks like, and I don't think I want to know either.
No. Look, I have no problem with the Mrs. Ike stories. It's Ike himself that he deserves the pile-on. But in any event,
Right. Like he's earned that. He's
earned that.
He's earned it. Right.
right.
He brought it upon himself. All right, so we're gonna start off on Bobbo. So a little bit of your background, etc. You're the guest today. So
Cool. Well, so real quick, because this was the kind of lead-in. I kind of hijacked it with the Ike stories, but I just had to get that off my shoulders, as I'm sure most guests. You lead in with it, you may as well air my thoughts.
let the group.
So the name BobboFitos, what it came from is way back when I first registered for 2+2. This was probably 2003, I think. There was the 2003 World Series on ESPN, that kind of thing, and there was a poker player. I have no idea what's become of him, but his name is Bruno Fatoussi. Okay. And I thought he had the coolest name. I was like, wow, like Bruno Fatoussi. And Bobbo is always a nickname that was way back. I had a Vietnamese friend named Christopher Van Lang, actually. And he called me Bobbo. This was like second grade. Later found out that in Vietnamese, apparently, it's actually an insult that means like dummy or something like that. But I always thought, Bobbo was a clever nickname, not Rob or Bobby, anything like that. So I figured when I was registering for 2+2, I was like, all right, like Bruno Fatoussi, this guy's name's awesome. Instead, it could be Bobbo Fatoussi. But I couldn't fit it's like Fitoussi, something like that. So I just shortened it to Fitos, and I thought that was kind of that's how the name came to be.
Did you
Fact. Cool
did you
story.
did you know of him because like you thought his play was particularly good, or you just thought his name
No,
was
I just was watching an episode. I thought he had a funny name, so
Oh.
so that's the entire story where it came from.
So, Bobbo, I have a question from back in the day.
Okay.
So way back in the day, Bobbo's Bible was very much that to a lot of people from the forums. Can you discuss the story around that a little bit and kind of that experience?
Maybe starting from the beginning, because I have no idea what he's talking about, but I'm curious.
Okay, well, Wiper, I wrote the first ebook on poker. And it's called Bobbo's Bible. Basically what happened is I started, I was one of the first poker coaches. There were a few before me. The guys that came before me were ML4L, to a small extent Zero Z, and there were a couple other people that kind of coached poker before me, but this was maybe 2006, I would say.
Wow.
So at the time I was going to a school called Fairfield University, and I was just playing poker instead. But the rule was, because I had already left my first school, is that I wasn't allowed to play poker, and so I thought the best way to do it would be to teach poker. That way, I'd be connected and really learn. So what I started doing, I was actually coaching all through on actually AOL Instant Messenger, if you could believe it. And I would save all of my sessions, and I noticed that I started having these recurring themes. Like I would break things down to different topics. And I had a lot of material after I was coaching quite a bit, and I said, wow, why don't I just compile this? And rather than think of a book, I thought kind of like the lazy approach. I was like, wow, I could just coach everybody like section by section, so I already have stuff I know that I want to type, because before I was kind of like winging it, finding examples. So it started as just like that's what I was using as the fodder to coach people. And then finally, when I had a lot of it, I was like, wow, I can just make this into a book. And rather than actually coach people like, per hourly, I can just sell them a book for, a decent amount of money, and then I won't even have to coach them, and they can just pay me up front, and that's how they'll learn. So that was the origin of the Bobbo's Bible.
Is it still available places?
Unfortunately, like the market kind of died when it just got pirated a lot. And at this point, like for a while, I was actually protected against it. I had different different ways as far as blueprinting. It's called fingerprinting actually and whatnot. There were certain ways to protect myself, but that only lasted, I would say, piracy free for like 2 years or so. And then I actually still have had some people PM me like looking to buy it. And I don't know what to say to them, because like I would love to sell it to them, but at the same time, like they can literally just Google it, which is frustrating for me, of course.
Yeah.
So I've had I would say maybe every 2 or 3 months somebody asks me about it, and like I don't even know what to say to them. I mean, especially when it's frustrating, of course. Like piracy has probably cost like I mean a modest guess it's probably cost me like a couple $100,000, I would say is probably accurate, but So my own thoughts on piracy law is kind of frustrating, but it is what it is. So it's technically available, although I actually haven't like sold a copy. I would say for I don't know, a year or 2 years or something. Even though every few months I do get PMs about it.
What was the meat of the book?
Well, I mean, as far as hopefully not too braggadocious, I'd say about certain poker theory, but I was definitely I was absolutely the first as far as formulating 3-bet ratios, kind of understandable functions. There's a lot of good stuff in it, I think. Classifying flops, which even now I don't really see people doing that much. But the main thing was something called the golden ratio, as far as golden ratio of 3-betting, which I think is still highly applicable. A lot of people's criticisms, this has been the past few years, is that it's like outdated now. But I still play poker, not online, unfortunately. Live is certainly softer, but everything I've written, I stand by, and it's still highly applicable and still very good. Does that mean it's the best book right now? No, it probably isn't. It was way back, but there have been other things that have been written or done that are probably better or more comprehensive or more up to date is the best way of putting it. But all the topics. I mean, the main idea is it teaches you how to think. I would like to say, and all that stuff is still very good.
Did you have any hesitation?
It was definitely one of those things that you knew people that had read it, and like I never really played that seriously, but like you had just always heard that like that became like the way to be, especially like some of the lower stakes where you could play like very just mechanically and sound and just really good and just totally crushed back in the day.
Well, I mean yes, sure, very sound. I mean my style of play, like even today and everything, it's anything but like tight and snug. And I don't believe that's like optimal way to play poker anyway. But in my book, certainly I don't advocate that anyway. In fact, I actually, if I had to rewrite things, and I used to make edits, this was years ago, and I had a couple updates. Clearly, haven't updated it in like 4 years or so. But I would actually cut back on a lot of the aggression. I think people have gotten a bit better now, as far as you can't be as fluffy as I certainly was. That I would play more snugly now, I would say. if I was online. But yeah, but no, I mean, ideally the people that really grasp the core tenets, probably made a lot of fancy plays because they weren't really fancy, because they were fundamental, but on the surface they looked kind of awkward. I don't know. That would be the hope, at least.
When's the last time you?
As you say, as far as people who have read it, it's kind of frustrating. Even today, there's actually, Hoya, you were mentioning Hearthstone. There's a Hearthstone friend of mine. He's he posts on the Hearthstone forums. Really nice guy. And he said to me, like, right when we started talking, he's like, "Yeah, I pirated your book." I was like, "Thanks, dude." Like, I'm not gonna like dislike you for doing that, but you don't have to tell me that. Like, you don't have to be a dickhead about that.
Would you ever do an update?
I used to do updates, but now, and I used to send the updates to anyone who had bought it. But no, I haven't updated it in a while. I think my days about writing about poker are over, considering I haven't even checked the high stakes or mid stakes forum in years. The only forums I check are video games and sporting events.
When you wrote the book, did you have any reservations about publishing the method you were using to beat the game? Because I think what's happened, I've noticed this with the Daily Fantasy Sports forum, is I'm supposed to be helping grow that forum, but nobody wants to post how they're beating those games because their edge is being publicized. I think poker's different, but did you think about that at the time?
Yeah, I mean it's tough, and I've dabbled a little bit with the fantasy sports as well. I wasn't feeling as confident in it. A few of my friends really Sonny's really big into it. A.E. Jones right now. They haven't really shared their strategy with me, but yeah, and I would like to dabble a little bit more in that, although I wasn't really all about that this season. Yeah, I mean there's. With anything, I mean, it's funny, you see something like video games, which is why I really like it, is people are very willing to share. I mean, clearly there's nothing at stake or very little at stake in general, whereas fantasy, forums, as far as, basketball, football, there is money to be made or lost by sharing your wisdom. I don't know, it's really tough to say. Then I felt like getting the information out there and getting something for it was worth it, and I still very much feel that way. Other people, and I think that was kind of egotistic of them to assume if they'd shared their infinite wisdom with someone who's. I thought that was a bit absurd. However, I do see there's a small argument for it. So it's not completely bullshit, but it's not great either.
How much sports betting have you done over the years?
Like lifetime or recently?
Just over the last. Because it changes so often. Over the last 2, 4, 6, 8 years.
Over the last 2. Well, I certainly haven't been betting prior to the 8 years. But I mean, there were a few seasons where I bet a fair amount. This was not one of them. I mean, I made a couple wagers, props. In fact, I still have to collect on some of my prop threads. I think I've paid out everyone that I've owed, but people that owe me, I haven't collected for whatever reason. I don't know. I can't even say I've been busy. I just I've been kind of lazy about collecting because it's I'm owed a couple $100. I'm not really going to go adamant for it. Having said that, so this season I didn't really bet very much. I had a little bit of money on the draft day, I think, or DraftKings, but and I was actually I lost a little bit this season, which is another thing. I get I wouldn't say upset at losing, but I'm certainly there are some people in poker that the more they win, the more they play, or the more they lose, the more they play. It typically there's the rare individual who just keeps playing whether they're winning or losing. I'm definitely the type when I am not winning, I don't like to play as much. I definitely shell up a lot more often. So that was the way it was with me for betting this year at least.
But why haven't you? I mean, you went about trying to figure out poker, and you've gone about, and not that I know what Hearthstone is, but you've gone about trying to figure out Hearthstone, and you at least have some dabbling in daily fantasy sports. Why haven't you? What would you do to figure out betting? Is that just a fuck it pastime for you? Why?
No, I think it's a good question.
Numbers.
Yeah, I mean it's I've dabbled a little bit in the fantasy sports, and I feel like if I put more, I mean, all right, here's a confession as far as the NBA season, because normally this year discounted, I've been the biggest nut as far as watching 1 million games a night. Really, this year. I was not very interested in the season. I didn't care that much about the Celtics. I love the Spurs, but it was the playoffs were fun, and then we lost first round. It was kind of brutal. I just haven't been that invested this year, and so it goes through spurts where I'll care more or less. And for whatever reason, this season part of it was kind of like the downfall of TZ, I would say. But I just, I have a ball stream subscription. I watch, maybe like 2 or 3 games a week rather than 2 or 3 games a day. So yeah, it was just I just wasn't that intense about it, I guess.
So let's talk about what you said about the downfall of TZ. Like, when did that start, and how bad is it now?
I mean, I feel kind of like a dickhead because I've made this post like 4 different times this year, saying like calling out everybody about how terrible they are in Threadzilla, and at this point, it's almost like old man yells at clouds, I'd say. But there's a few posters that are quite good. MJW is probably the best Threadzilla poster right now.
By far.
Yeah, he's a very good poster. Yeah, I enjoy him. But if you look at like guys who could provide content but don't, a good example is Sethy Poo, who clearly is writing a ton of articles, and his articles are really good. I really am proud of him in that respect. But but some of that in the years past may have gone to TZ. This year, not a single bit of it. So rather than, it's almost like a brain drain, I suppose, where, a lot of people who had good things to say are now saying them elsewhere, and kind of the empty space that's been filled has been filled with, like, really bad posters. And, to name names, because these are the posters that I've had on, banned for a while, whether it's Trollstoy, whether it's Cruising the Bulls, whether it's Poker OMG LOL talking about the Mavs. I mean, these guys are, like, they're straight up terrible. Like, it's a good thing I'm not a mod, and I don't want to be a mod, because I would ban everybody so quickly. It's so funny to say that, because I get upset when people get banned in general, because I don't like it. But then again, if I had the power to ban people, like these guys, because I just read it and I think, wow, what an idiot! Like, why would you even write that? So my tolerance level, I would say, is quite low in Threadzilla. So what you've had is you've had kind of good posters stop sharing so much, or at least go on other outlets to share. And the void has been filled by bad posters who have either junk or spam, and it's unfortunate. Some people would probably say TZ is still good. I don't know. I know that the sometimes like not enough modding is a good thing. Sometimes too much modding is a bad thing. Like it's a seesaw. And I think they've tried to like. I mean, all right. Here's the thing. My favorite person on the sporting events. I don't know if this is known or not, but it is Tuck. I think he is the best sporting events poster, and this might be a minority opinion. I don't know, but I find him, and he like never posts anymore. That's the thing. It's sad. I think he only posts in golf. He's hilarious. And he used to post in Threadzilla, but like, the reason I say this is like his attitude would be to just like whether it's Trollstoy or whoever, it would just be Griar. They all have a soft spot for him. He'd just say, "Oh, let him do whatever." And I think in years past that kind of worked out because the ratio of sort of people that added positive content to people that didn't, and the people that didn't could even sometimes churn out positive discussion if they're at least keeping the wheels spinning, so to speak. But again, the ratio has been tipped to such that it's now thrown. And again, I might be overreacting. I mean, who knows? I've been fairly active in Threadzilla. I've still read like every single post there this year, even though I've posted far less frequently. And maybe I'm just sour because I feel like in years past it's been better, and maybe it hasn't. Maybe I'm just not thinking correctly. But yeah,
what are you doing instead of posting in TZ?
I think I'm posting more than anybody in the Hearthstone forum. That's
what is sure. Hearthstone? Like, I don't know what Hearthstone. Like, I don't know if you discussed that or not. But what the fuck is Hearthstone?
So Hearthstone is it's a collectible card game online. It's a video game. It's a Blizzard game. And the thing I love about it, and really, it's amazing how it's really grasped my attention, is that it's not very complicated, but there actually are many layers of strategy. And the amazing thing to me is that even the best players are actually not that good. Myself
and you can gamble on it?
You can. There are tournaments where you can make money or whatnot. Like I've been trying to qualify for the World Championship, and I've come close to earning points, but I'm not yet there, unfortunately. And my time window is actually running out, so I might not be able to do it, which would be a real bummer.
You know how nerdy this sounds right now? Like you said, collectible card game?
But
yeah,
it's a
like
good
Magic.
game. So
like Magic.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of like Magic, but I would say that I played it a lot myself, but off and on.
Right now I'm on a fucking podcast, sitting on my porch talking about like Magic.
So it's almost
bad.
It's like a card game. So it's a card game based in the Blizzard world. So if you're familiar with Blizzard and you played any of their games,
Blizzard video games like World of Warcraft and StarCraft and those games.
Man, you guys, man, like you guys.
No, Wiper. I mean, here's the thing though. Like you say that, and like I agree. Like yeah, of course it's not. It's a video game #1. Also, it's not. Especially we come from Sporting Events Forum, where like I prefer sports in general. But I'd say if you played it a bit, you would actually like it. I mean, it's a very good strategy game, which is why I like it so much.
Is that why you missed the layup in the fucking video where you shot the layup?
Dude, that was taken from a lot of shots. It was like 1 layup out of 100. All right, come on now. That was years ago.
It's still funny.
So one last thing, and then we're gonna go on to a different subject. Just because it came up with Needle as well, and it came up here. So the idea of people posting less on 2+2 and posting good content elsewhere, doesn't it almost make sense to do that? The whole community of 2+2 is like coaches trying to hustle money, poker players who are super hustlers, gamblers, sports gamblers, hustlers, scammers. I mean, everyone on 2+2 is trying to get ahead, and content is very valuable. Zone Reads is the site that Needle has, and they write on that. There's people that
I don't agree, and I take umbrage with that statement for the most part.
So why post on 2+2 at all?
Well, right. I mean, it's a community #1, but I think to label them as sort of hustlers is wrong. I mean, I would say I'd like to speak for the body of I would say young poker players that started, let's say a decade to 5 years ago, kind of that window of 5 to 10 or so, where they're no longer young, but like I'm friends with a lot of them. They're not coming from a spot of like hustlers or trying to cheat anybody. I mean, it was very much like a video game, trying to get better. I think that's there's a real.
I'm not trying to discriminate against all. I'm saying like in all of the 2+2 population, I mean, there's maybe 2 to 5% of those, like.
Sure. Yes. I mean, I think in any population you'll have like scammers or whatever, but and you're right that probably the body within 2+2 is probably more likely to attract that type, but that doesn't mean just to label it all. I think that's just wrong.
Yeah, no, I agree. We're interviewing someone tomorrow who I met on 2+2.
Oh, that's actually kind of cool.
That's kind of neat. Yeah.
Yeah, he's writing code right now in California, and it was a potentially mutual situation. I mean, we have remote people. We worked with remote people all around the globe, like in the last week. So, I mean, you can figure something like this out. But yeah, I mean, the people I know that I post on here, and they just don't really care to do it themselves.
Yeah, I mean. Look, and again, like I used to check whether it's like the El Diablo forum or whatnot. That there's a lot of. It's crazy to me actually how much that you can learn and you really use it as a resource. And of course, I mean, the fack as a microcosm for itself is I really enjoy reading the fack. I mean, it's layered with at this point. There's a lot of jokes and there's a lot of people that are quite funny. I think they are more funny than I am, and I get a real a lot of enjoyment out of that. Yeah, sometimes you have to deal with kind of like the blah stuff or trash, but for me the experience is clearly well worth it. Otherwise, I wouldn't post. I would say. Will it ever come to a time when it's not worth it? Yeah, sure, maybe. Sorry, what?
It tracks all the it just tracks all the people from the other forums too. Like you start to see more and more people coming in and like thinking like I assume that they read the last couple hundred posts and now all of a sudden they can fit in, but like you're right, like. There are 20 to 25 people that kind of keep the fack alive for me. I can't.
Oh, even more than that. I mean, the community is bigger.
I don't even think it's that many.
Well, I mean, the funny thing is, I mean, here's the most like overdone joke, but to me, I always laugh at is the whole thing with Bowens. Okay. No. I mean, it's things like that joke has been going on for years now. All right, or like taking a picture of your shoes, like with CVig or whatnot.
Yeah.
That's too easy to me. That's too easy. Like
it's really easy, but I mean, again, that's like the thread that ties a lot of things together.
It's part of but it is like as you post in TZ or as you post in the FAQ over time, you become part of the fabric of that conversation and that community. Exactly. So like when you see the picture of like Raids' breakfast, for example,
exactly,
that is hilarious, and it's never not going to be hilarious, and it's not because the picture's that funny. It's because him posting it in the thread about good breakfasts was so ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, to me, clearly it's well worth it. I enjoy it, and I think it's actually a little bit of a shame that I think we've kind of reached the precipice in a way that there are more people leaving and that have just like disappeared. I guess Sando finally came back, but then actually like new people are coming, and anytime there's a new person, you just assume it's either a gimmick or a previously banned poster. In fact, we've had a couple people that I think welched and they owed money, like Das Boot, like whatever happened to that guy. There's a lot of stuff, but for now I think it's
weird, man.
There's no way that was actually over.
No. The best example
a Christmas
though,
present, right?
I think it is. It was.
Well, no, I can tell you a little bit more about that.
Had to be more than that.
So the deal was we had this like troll Santa thing where you had to spend like $20 like minimum. No one cared to send somebody something they would not appreciate. And a few of the gifts were actually pretty good anyway. Some of them were horrible, right? And Das Boot, who's like a genuine like a globally regarded as a good poster, ends up not sending a gift and then vanishes.
Yep.
And first of all, Nutshot and I were talking about this like as moderators. And by the way, I'm not an SE moderator, but like I do care about people who post on 2+2. So we were talking about this, and I was like, it's really weird that would be why he's gone. There has to be something else there.
There's no way.
Well, Nutshot looked into it. Nutshot found him on Facebook, sent messages to his brothers on Facebook, and actually spent money to do it. Because on Facebook, you can apparently spend $1, and then you can send a private message to someone who isn't your friend or something like that.
Man.
So he did that to his brothers, never got a response. It appears that he's alive or something, and I think he's just done with 2+2, and that's it.
Did he get
if he exited, he really should have sent the gift, though. I mean,
absolutely, it's ridiculous. It's insane to me that someone would not send a $20 gift. He could.
What present did he get?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember.
He got something though, right?
He got something.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. He did. Yeah.
Man, that whole thread was
Bobbo,
awesome.
do you still have the picture?
I can't believe, all he had to do was just, oh my god.
Yeah, I know, it makes no sense.
And he was good. He was good at everything, basically.
Well, the funniest part was that Vic was the one who got hung out to dry.
Vic?
No, Vic.
Oh, Vic. Okay.
Oh,
yeah.
He was mad too. Like he private messaged me and he was like, man, what do I do? And I'm
Dude,
like,
me too. He was like, what the fuck?
I don't know.
I was like, I don't know what to tell you, dude. You got welched on in Troll Santa.
Bobbo, who's gonna win the NBA championship? And keep in mind that I am sitting about 45 minutes from Cleveland right now.
The Warriors.
Who's gonna win the Eastern Conference?
The Cavs.
And how long does it take the Warriors to beat the Cavs in the finals?
5 games.
I agree.
Oh!
That's exactly what I posted.
Fuck you!
I'm sorry, man. Well, I mean, here's the thing. All right, the Cavs have had a lot of bad luck, and they're not even they're not the second best team in the league. I mean, they're probably like 5th best. I mean, all the best teams are in the West. But making it to the finals is pretty good. Obviously, no Kevin Love. He matters, even though he's not like great. He's still a good player. They've had Varejao at the early part of the season. I mean, it's been they have injuries right now. Kyrie is not 100%. All things considered, first year LeBron, it took Vlad a while to kind of figure out the team. Mozgov is a real positive acquisition, as was J.R. Smith. You're going to be in good shape, Wiper. I'm
shaking my head right now. I'm just shaking my head.
Well, this is going to be the weakest team for LeBron for the next few years, and the fact that they're going to make it to the finals is a really that's very strong, of course. So the over/under, and I expect Cleveland to win an NBA championship in the next 5 years. They're the over/under. I bet over on 1 for the record.
That's to me, it's just funny to hear you say that because, and not that I listen to sports talk too often, but the local sports talk, they're just listen. No one's gonna beat the Cavs. It's the Cavs in 5 in this series, and the Cavs in 6 against the Warriors.
Oh no, you guys are gonna be big underdogs.
What are the All right, so what are the mismatches then that are gonna cause them to lose to 5 in the Warriors?
The Warriors are. I don't want to say historically great team because they're not quite historically great. No, they are clearly the best team in the league. I'll put it like that. Against the Cavs, they have health, they have depth, they have better players at 4 of the 5 starting spots. They have the better coach. They have home court. I mean, they have everything going for them. The only thing the Cavs have going for them, of course, is they have LeBron. LeBron, even though Curry won the MVP, LeBron's a better player. I don't think anyone would argue that. But the difference really isn't that much. I mean, that's the crazy thing is Curry has raised his game. He's that good. Where they have LeBron, but the Warriors have Curry. So it would have Do the Cavs have a chance? Yeah, of course. I mean, any series, although 7 games, typically the better team wins. And again, I don't want to say it's like a shoo-in that they beat the Hawks, although the Hawks had a good regular season. I'm happy for them. I'm proud of them, but they're not beating the Cavs.
Tell me how
Hoya nodding his head. Yeah, I mean it's.
I completely agree with everything you're saying.
Yeah.
Fuck both of y'all.
Yeah, I mean I'm sorry. I mean, and again, there's a small chance that the Warriors don't beat the Rockets, but I at the start of the playoffs, I felt like the Rockets were a very weak 2 seed. I was shocked that they pulled it over the Clippers, of course, and that was miraculous in many ways.
Yeah.
They went down like 20 or whatever.
You think the Warriors are about to
But they're not a very good team. Whereas of the four, honestly, in previous years, I feel like the other conference finals would be more competitive and stronger teams. The only team that's really worthy of being a champion this year are the Warriors, and they are worthy of being a champion.
Do you think that the Warriors are going to change the makeup of the NBA? Are teams going to be different going forward now because of this year's Warriors team?
That's a really good question. I would say no, and the reason why is because the Warriors are in a unique position where they've been able to take advantage of things. They're more or less positionless lineups, being able to shift Draymond to the 5. They have a lot of quality wings, which is it's a scarce commodity. And they also have Curry. There's no player like Curry in the NBA. He is again a historical outlier to the nth degree. Given his spacing and his shot creation. I mean, to say he's a dynamic offensive player is actually an insult because even if you look at like Kevin Durant's best season or whatever, Curry actually surpassed that this year. So, and again, their style of play. I mean, they did something that's never been done before. They led the league in pace and defense. So when you think of all these things, the NBA really can't emulate it because other teams don't have the options that the Warriors have. The real questions are going to be, can the Warriors keep everything together? Because they're a pretty young team. If they can, they're going to be the clear favorites going into next year. If they can't, they won't. It's that simple.
For how long? Like, what do they have to keep together, and for how long is that window? And like,
they have to max Draymond Green. They have to max Draymond Green. They'll get into the tax. The question will be whether they ship away David Lee if they can find a taker. Iguodala is aging. He's actually a very important player to their team. He's like definitely the unsung hero. But if you look at the other guys, the principals. I mean, Harrison Barnes is not great, but Curry, Clay, and Harrison are all quite young. Bogut is aging, but his kind of game, like he should be, a steadfast anchor for a while. We mentioned like the minor pieces, like Sean Livingston should still provide value. I mean, if they keep their guys together, they have at least like a 3-year window where they should be the favorites over the next 3 years. After that, it's too tough to forecast.
But what kind of team would you need to build to beat them then?
It's a really good question. How do you really exploit them? I mean, the things that they do well is the things that are good fundamental basketball. I mean, the good example is against Memphis, for example. Memphis is a great defensive team, but the Warriors, everything that Memphis did, the Warriors actually did a slightly better, and they had more explosion, more options offensively. Plus, Memphis was a bit hobbled. Conley wasn't 100%. They missed Tony for a game, that kind of thing. I think that you just, it sounds ridiculous, but you just try and get the best amount or the most amount of talent you can, and then have the coach that can use that talent in the best way possible. I mean, it sounds silly like that. That's what the Warriors have been able to do.
Yeah, I would chime in.
There are a few other teams that have a similar amount of talent. Like, for example, if the Cavs were fully healthy, Wiper, they'd have a definite chance. They probably wouldn't be as good top end as the Warriors, but they wouldn't be that far off either. But the reality is the Cavs are not at full health. So, if you look at the Clippers, if they had a better bench, if Doc Rivers wasn't the GM, if they had a totally different backup 5, they would arguably be better than the Warriors because I think their starting 5 is slightly superior. The Spurs, the Spurs arguably could have, played almost level with the Warriors because, last year's Spurs I actually think is a better team than this year's Warriors for the record. Maybe that's, either recency bias or, championship color glasses, but I thought that team was like one of the greatest ever. I mean, the last few years of the Spurs, I mean, even them losing to the Heat, I thought that team was amazing. But yeah, so it's the kind of thing. The Warriors next year, if they keep it together, they should be the favorites. But there are going to be other teams that are going to be like almost as good, which means any of those teams could win it.
I have a question about one of those teams.
Okay.
How much? Should I bring a gun when I go to fight Kelly Olynyk for ruining the Cavs' chance this year, or is he a pussy enough that I can just fight him straight up? Because
you could probably fight him straight up, to be honest.
I'm not as big as him, but I ain't got that pussy hairdo either.
Yeah, he's pretty goofy. He's also probably top heavy. I can't imagine he's a good fighter. He's like very top
like
heavy,
to hit
kind of
him.
gangly, you know?
Did you think he did that shit on purpose?
Yeah, he did.
He did. See?
Yeah, when I watched it at first, I wasn't sure, but I saw a couple of replays and the response by Kevin Love was like kind of stupid. Having said that, I can understand where he's coming from.
Away.
It's like his first postseason.
Ran away.
Well, no, he's like, oh, he should be suspended for 20 games. I think that's a bit absurd. But yeah, Kelly.
Yeah, he said that from the locker room. Like, oh, he should be in trouble. Like, while he's hiding in the locker room. Like, Kevin Love is a pussy, but it also ruined. Like, it took away how much equity the Cavs had.
No, I agree with you. I think it's the situation. It's like it's not a good situation, and it's bad Kelly, bad. You shouldn't do that.
Right.
Don't yank people's arms out.
Let me say one thing about what Bobo was saying about the Warriors and the distribution of talent in the league. I mean, Bobo's right. Everything he just says is the same stuff that I think about the NBA. I would also point out that his best point during that conversation was about having players who are capable of playing hybrid roles on a team. Because as the NBA is evolving, one of the big changes is that having a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 doing the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 jobs is not a real thing. And the more your team is able to operate with flexibility, the more efficient they can be. For example, with the Warriors, Steph Curry is your point guard, that's great, but Steph Curry is not a point guard. Steph Curry is like a dynamic scoring weapon who is also a dynamic scoring point guard who also passes unbelievably and causes defenses to collapse around him, giving everybody unbelievable opportunities all over the court, right? Like you can't
even a player like Clay, who it's been documented certainly by Thayer and others that I've never been a fan of Clay. He's improved this year. I mean, like he is also if you talk about a two-way wing player, he's really raised his game. He's a very good player now.
Yeah, he's a very good defender. I mean, I don't want to call him like all league defender or something, but he's a very good defender. Obviously, he's a good offensive player. And part of the reason the Warriors are good is that they've been able to accumulate a collection of talent that is flexible and has a lot of value. And I think one thing that we tend to undervalue in TZ when we talk about stuff is a player who's dynamic enough that he can do multiple jobs for you at the same time, allowing your offense to flow in a way that a team like, for example, the Grizzlies can't dream of doing, is really valuable, especially if you have the coach like Steve Kerr who's able to take advantage of it.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is really, in any given year, there's just not going to be that many contenders. It's the harsh reality of, the NBA, basically. And there are some teams that are capped. Like, I really love the Grizzlies. I love the way they play, but that team will never win a championship. I think they know it. I think random fans know it. I think opposing teams know it. Like, their ceiling is pretty much what happened. Like, second round, maybe conference finals if they get lucky. And granted, they had a lot of bad luck, but the way their team is designed and engineered, and it's, they're doing, they've done the best, as far as GMing with what they could, but they're capped. And their blueprint is a blueprint for getting where they are, basically. And that doesn't mean you should blow it up because, you still have Marcus. It just means that, and it means they're not going to get there. And part of it is, if they were playing in the East, well, maybe they could make it to the finals. I still think they would actually. They're not one of the teams that are better than the Cavs. I would, but at least they'd have a chance. But yeah, that's just the way. So there's a cap number of contenders in the year.
Yeah,
I've never thought about Memphis, but is there one player that you can take from Memphis and trade into Memphis that would make them a championship team in your opinion? Then, because if they're just a second round team, who could you take off and replace with that would do it?
Oh, I mean, if you put like LeBron, if you put Curry, if you put Durant, if you got any of those guys in their current team, they'd be the best team in the league. I mean,
that's the list of like the 5 best players in the league.
Yeah, exactly. So,
They're missing.
Yeah, Gasol is amazing. I mean, he is probably a top 10 player in the league, maybe. I haven't done like a top 10 list in a while, but he's up there. I mean, their weakness, honestly, if you look at their lineup, some of his coaching wasn't great. Conley was obviously hurt, and Conley's a very good point guard. Their wing rotation, like Tony Allen, Jeff Green, Courtney Lee, it's good. It's not great. Jeff Green is pretty overrated. He's, Larry should know, especially from his Boston days. Jeff Green is never the answer.
Jeff Green is the definition of inconsistent, I would say.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
Good player, like
he has peaks and valleys, and his peaks are pretty high, but his valleys are quite low. And you need more consistency. So much better.
When he's in a valley, you don't even know he's on the court.
Yeah, he disappears for times, and it's weird. And anyway, if you look at Zebo, like Zebo's aging, Gasol, like it's a very good front court. But and then the thing is, this year their bench is actually pretty good. So if you kind of look at their roster, like 1 through 10 or so, it's difficult to say where they could upgrade because everybody is pretty good or very good. It's just the biggest hole is probably, and it's what they tried to address with Jeff Green. I'm not sure Jeff Green was an upgrade over the Courtney Lee, Tony Allen wing tandem, and that's what they tried. They give it a shot, and that would be the obvious place to upgrade. But there aren't that many players that would add value. Again, the obvious candidates, like a LeBron, Kawhi Leonard, all those players would be much better at the small forward position. But those players are not for sale.
You just have to have
Right,
have to have a superstar.
Well, you do, and the thing is that if you're going to try to win a title in the NBA, you really only have 2 paths, right? You're the kind of team that is able to actually get superstars that come play for you, or you're the kind of team who manages to draft assets and keep them together long enough to be good. So, like, the Warriors put this together largely over the course of the last 5 years and making good decisions. And, like, right now, if you wanted to pick out a team that has the chance to try to emulate that kind of building process, you'd probably look at the Timberwolves and be like, you have Anthony Bennett, that sucks. But you also have Wiggins, who's good. You're about to draft a center who's going to hopefully be great. And you have a lot of pieces that aren't actually bad. So even though you had a bad season, you have a really young, really dynamic team that could be good.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree.
That's the only other path, I think.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the difference between the Timberwolves and Celtics is that the problem with the Celtics is they're trying to get all these assets, and it worked for the Rockets where the Thunder idiots traded Harden and the Rockets found their path. Like the Rockets have their pieces, and I said the Rockets were very overrated and not very good 2 seed, but if you look at their team, first off, they made it to the conference finals. That's very good, but also they've done it with like a smorgasbord of bench where they have obvious places they can upgrade. Dwight Howard has kind of a renaissance. The Rockets next year could be better. And if they're better, then they might be a deserving 2 seed, which means they might be a true title contender. They're technically, because they're one of the 4 remaining teams, are a contender right now anyway. But anyway, I've mentioned this to the Celtics, and you can compare the Celtics to the Timberwolves. The Celtics have nobody that's worth building around. My favorite player, no, really.
Yeah.
My favorite player is Isaiah Thomas, and I love Lil Zeke. I think he's a very good player. He's actually kind of underrated. But at best, he's like the 3rd best player on a championship team, if you break it down with that thinking. You don't even think that?
No, I like Isaiah Thomas a lot. What do you think about Smart, though? I have mixed feelings on Smart. Sometimes I like him, and he's like a tough, gritty inside player, and then sometimes he's kind of just fucking useless.
Yeah, Smart's rookie year didn't really fulfill me with that much optimism. Like he was better at some things than I expected, but not really as good. Like offensively, I thought he was going to be a lot better. He couldn't get to the rim. He couldn't really dribble. He's clearly not a point guard. That much is evident to me. Some players do develop, but normally the guys that come into the league that don't really have point guard skills, they don't suddenly blossom into like this great point guard. He's pretty capped, which is kind of sad because entering the year, I thought he was going to be like all-star potential. I never see him as an all-star now, and it's hard to just dismiss someone after their rookie year, but you can tell a lot about a player based on the rookie year alone. Like it really, projections from college matter, and their age in general, but rookie year is like far more telling than anything.
What makes you say that about him? Like,
Pardon?
why can't Marcus Smart be an all-star though?
I'm more positive on him. I'm more positive
Me too.
on him. I think I saw some stuff from Marcus Smart that looked good. I think you're right that he had a bad year, but I think a lot of where he was bad this year, and I might be off, but I feel like some of it at least was conditioning, being ready to actually play with the big boys in the NBA, because he can make plays down low, he can throw his body around, but he can't do it consistently. He can't do it.
So here's the thing. So I opened up his basketball reference, and again, like just using kind of like the basic advanced stats, if you will.
Yeah.
All right, and again, like these aren't like completely telling, but he played almost 2,000 minutes and he only had an 11 PER. PER is not the greatest stat. In fact, it's not a particularly good stat. But 11 PER means he was sub-replacement value. Now, clearly that ignores some of his defensive value, which was good for a rookie, but the phrase good for a rookie is somewhat of a backhanded compliment. It still means he wasn't like a great defender. And when you look at like all-star potential, there are very few players that put up like an 11 PR as a rookie and ever develop into like this all-star. So we can just use that as a data point is what I mean. And, so if you look at the rest of the Celtics in general, they have a lot of pieces that are like above average players, potentially for like, a championship caliber team. But the only guy that I could picture starting at the moment would be Isaiah Thomas. And that's only if you've got like 2 guys that are clearly better than him, clearly. So just to bring it full circle to Hoya's point about the Timberwolves have the potential to be a title threat, 5 years from now. It's totally up in the woods. Celtics, unless they make a big blockbuster for like a disgruntled superstar, not an all-star superstar, they're not even on the right path.
Right.
Yeah, I mean the Celtics are not in good shape. I'm really unhappy about it. It's one of those things where we blew it up, but it feels more like we blew it up to save money than we blew it up with any real chance of building. And maybe
No. I mean, look, Danny's done a great
that.
job. Like he's gotten a lot of first-round picks. Like that matters. From the Nets, for example, we have the pick swap with Hawks, although that's not really going to matter as much. Our pick is no longer lottery, but he has a lot of assets. The problem, though, is when you kind of are on this treadmill where you can, a lot of those picks, especially later first rounds, they don't really amount to much. It's like they amount to decent value but small marginal gains, which if you're like already above like the 50-win threshold, that really matters. Like that's like, the difference of an extra player who can play versus not. But
it's huge going.
Unless they strike it big, with like, a Manu Ginobili type in the,
I was just gonna say that, yeah. Like it's almost impossible to talk about late first round value in the NBA without talking about a bunch of guys who were obviously underdrafted, right? Like they go hand in hand. Like, wow, Kawhi Leonard to the Spurs made a lot of sense. I'm like, wow, he's really good.
Right.
But, yeah, the point is that only happens because you're fortunate enough that other teams aren't evaluating him correctly, and you're one of the minority teams that thinks he's going to be really good. Because when he was coming out of college,
fell to Rick Pitino.
Yeah. I mean, like that only happens once in a blue moon, and is basically luck.
Yeah, I agree. No, I mean, it's completely agree. And so, a lot of teams are going to have, Celtics especially, even though they have a lot of these quote assets, they don't really mean anything at the moment. But I that is why I like the move for an Isaiah Thomas, for example. I think it was a smart acquisition.
That was good. Marcus Smart. It's unfortunate. Too bad. He doesn't have any value right now. I mean, we don't.
No, he has some value. I mean, he, all these guys, it's not like he had it's not like he had an Anthony Bennett rookie year. I mean,
get rid of him though? I wouldn't get rid of him. I would keep him at this point. I would.
Yeah, of course.
I would.
I just don't. I'm just not sold by anything special from his rookie year. I mean, I could be proven wrong. I hope I'm proven wrong, but yeah.
Yeah, like this is in some ways not a big deal. You have him on his rookie contract, and if he improves, that's awesome. And if he doesn't, it wasn't that expensive.
We just need someone good now.
Yeah, and if you're trying to build a good team as the Celtics right now, the biggest problem you have is that you don't really have the pieces to entice other teams, and you don't really have. This is exactly what Bobo said. You don't have a path that allows you to make the jump and suddenly be very competitive.
Plus, who wants to play with Kelly Olynyk?
Yeah, I mean, like the team to me that has like the strongest path, and it's so obvious, and this is it's like a gimme. It's not really doesn't really take an NBA expert to recognize this. Is the Pelicans?
Yeah.
They have the blueprint. I mean, it's very clear. Anthony Davis, already unbelievable player, going to be at some point the best player in the NBA. They will be a title contender as long as he's on a team. I mean, it's very clear.
Who would you rather have right now? Anthony Davis in his however many years he's in here versus Kareem in how many years he was in?
Wait, what do you mean? Like Kareem as like a 50-year-old, or Kareem as like
with the glasses?
Age.
You mean like age for age?
Age for age.
You take Kareem and you don't think twice, actually.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, because, I mean, when you look at value over their entire career, Kareem was probably the most valuable player because he played for so long and was so good for so long. Whereas Anthony Davis, I'm very high on him, and I think he's a great player, but you don't take anybody over the greatest career of all time. You don't do that.
Can I ask a question of all three of y'all? All right,
Yeah.
And it takes you guys to answer. Like I'm gonna count to 5, and I want you guys all to say your answer at the same time so that you can't hear each other.
Okay.
Okay.
Like should it be 3 years or 5 years? In 3 years or 5 years, who is the NBA champion? And I guess you guys can pick right now before should it be 3 years or 5 years?
3.
Can we do 3 years first?
5 years is too long. That's
that's too long.
entire NBA changes in 5 years a lot.
So in the year what? And let's say 2017. Is that 2 years? 2 years from now, 3 years from now.
2018.
All right, let's say 2018, and I'm going to give you guys a couple seconds to think about it. Because I'm going to say on the count of 3, and I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, and I want all three of y'all to say who you think is going to be the NBA champions in 2018.
I'm so tempted to just say some bullshit right now that makes no sense.
No, don't say the Celtics,
I'm
because
just
fuck
kidding.
that.
All right, go.
All right, so all three y'all ready?
Sure.
All right, 1, 2, 3.
Pelicans.
Rockets.
New Orleans.
Whoa, Pelicans?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
I mean, if you have to bet on one team, I mean, they're going to sign Anthony Davis to a 5-year supermax. So in 3 years, they'll still have him, and he's going to get better. He's going to be in his prime at that point. Like, I think without knowing any other information, that's the safest pick.
I mean, the reason I say it is that, yeah, it's the same thinking again. If you're going to have to try to pick a future title winner, you're going to think about, like, who are the best players in the league, who is going to be declining and who is not. And the answer is he is not. He'll probably be at his pure peak, and they'll have had 3 years plus the salary cap jump to build something around him that's actually good and fire their coach.
Larry, who'd you say?
I said the Rockets. And the reason I said the Rockets is because I was kind of joking. But I also think if the Rockets were to be able to get a really good small guard in 3 years or so, and they were somehow still to have fucking Dwight Howard really good, and Harden is a better version of Paul Pierce, they would be a really scary team.
None of y'all picked the Knicks.
No.
They're
The
doomed.
Knicks,
They're
Knicks
I would
gonna
bet a
have
lot
to be-
against the Knicks winning a championship as long as Phil Jackson's the president, to be
Isn't
honest.
that the point? I mean, that's what the point he's doing, though, right? Like, I mean, he's trying to bottom out, and in 3 years, it's New York still.
No, but he doesn't have any idea of what he's doing, actually. And 3 years is not long enough to bottom out and become a championship contender.
Right. And it's not as if management's good anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So that'd be a really bad pick. I mean, really, you just have to recognize who the best players are and what team they're likely to be on and who's likely to be the best at that time. I mean, Hoya, Hoya, we're of the same mind here. I mean, it seems like the only real answer you can give for 3 years.
Yeah. Anthony Davis is an unprecedented, just awesome player. I mean, I think in the next 10 years, he could be an MVP probably like 4 times.
I mean, the other teams I thought about that have potential are like, I mean, I think the Jazz can be good, but I wouldn't call them a title contender.
No. I mean, the Jazz second half of the year was like very good, but I mean, you don't just map out a trajectory based on that. Like, oh, they're going to keep.
Of course not.
I mean, and even at their best, they were like a 500 team.
Yeah, and it's funny. Like, you think about like the prestige teams, like the Celtics. I don't think that's possible.
No.
The Lakers, I think it's absolutely impossible.
Agree.
With the Knicks, I think it's absolutely impossible.
Agree.
With the Heat are going to need to go into their rebuild pretty soon, so that's not happening.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at like the Thunder, for example, Durant might be on the Wizards at that point. Westbrook might be on the Lakers at that point. I mean, even though they're a decent pick to, because they have a lot of talent, and those guys will still be very good in 3 years. Yeah, I mean, the only other places like you could still say like the Warriors, but at that point, a lot of their team that's there now is going to be turned over.
Yep.
So it's hard to just blueprint it 3 years from now. And then you look at the other best players in the league. I mean, like who are the best young players? I mean, Kawhi Leonard, like the Spurs, though, they're gonna certainly in 3 years they're gonna have no big three, so it's gonna be a new big three. If they can get like LaMarcus, then maybe that's a new core. But it'd be silly to say like Spurs. So yeah, the Anthony Davis is the best bet.
How long is LeBron gonna be able to be a big part, like a part of a big three? Like, so like say Kyrie is still gonna keep getting better, and LeBron can hang on for X amount of years. How long is X amount of years, and who do they need? Who can they get to stay relevant for 3 or 4 years or 5 years? I don't know.
Okay, that's a good question. I can answer this because LeBron actually, if you look at statistically, sort of the way he's accomplished things, and don't get me wrong, he's a better player than who I'm about to mention, but he actually reminds me a lot of Karl Malone. Okay, and if you look at Karl Malone's kind of aging curve, he was very relevant up till he was like 38 or so. Granted,
LeBron's trying to get down low more and more often. It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, plays like again, like clearly LeBron's
strong.
better, but like that's not like a bad comparison when you look at how they, what they do right now, basically. So I envision him kind of, transforming into that, and he's going to be 31 next year. He's had a lot of minutes already. My guess is he's going to be the best player in the league next year. He might not be the year after, but he'll be within 3 years. He'll still be a top 10 for sure, and maybe top 5 player.
So adding Kyrie to that, like who would be a good player? I mean, maybe not. You can't pick a player now that you can project in 3 years would be the best to be with. But like, what kind of player would they need to stay championship worthy.
The thing that stands out to me is that Marc Gasol is a free agent and would be unreal.
Yeah, they're not going to get Marc Gasol. Marc Gasol's going to re-sign in Memphis, though. I mean, the Cavs should be. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, I told you within 5 years they should win a championship. Kind of like the duration of LeBron's peak or his window of being a top player is probably about 5 years. They should win a championship. I mean, things could go wrong. Things could go very right. Yeah, I'd say right now that you don't even have to add anything to their team, and they are a championship contender for next year. I mean, that's the thing. They didn't do themselves any favors with the Verjao extension. That's going to kind of cripple them. I don't know what's going to happen with Tristan, who's actually pretty important to their team, but on the whole, not that good of a player. Obviously, they're going to have to re-sign J.R. Smith. He's pretty important, just having an NBA quality wing, because they were Dion Waiters was terrible for them. I don't know. They've got actually some tough decisions ahead of them, but again, they have the blueprint because they have the best player in the league, LeBron. They have another really good player in Kyrie, and they might still have Kevin Love, who's not as good as I thought he was originally, but he's still a very good player. So they have all the pieces they need, really. It's just
how much would you pay Tristan to stay?
I wouldn't have offered him the deal that he reportedly declined, so I would wave him goodbye.
Like, you do that now?
No, I don't think he's worth $12 million a year. I don't even think with the rise in cap. I think he's for their team right now. He's been put in a position where he looks a lot better than he is. He's not that good, and
he's gonna get paid based off this playoff.
Yeah, I know. He's gonna get offered a ridiculous amount of money, and it's gonna be a really bad contract.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a good take.
Fuck.
All right, so we should probably start wrapping up here. We were gonna speak about.
I thought we were going to talk a little bit about street ball.
Yes,
yeah.
we are. So let's go into street ball. So I'll just lay the rules first off. First off, what kind of rules we need to let people know who may not be familiar with street ball. So here's the rules we usually play. I believe you guys can correct me or give your opinion on this. Usually play to 15. Twos count. Winners take ball. Clear on everything. I think that's it.
Okay, so I've never really played to 15. I think that's kind of foreign. Most games that I play, it's full court, and you play to 11. Yeah. Unfortunately, most people do ones and twos. That's
twos are stupid in street ball. I hate twos in street ball.
Yeah, but that's what people do. It's always ones and twos. Actually, I mean, at this point in my career, it's better for me because I only shoot threes now, to be honest. No, really, that's all I do. I've lost a little bit of conditioning and athleticism and will to bang inside, so I'm pretty happy just float on the perimeter. And so with ones and twos, I'm actually a positive offensive force. If it was threes and twos, I wouldn't be.
Can we define street ball too? Because you guys said street ball twice now, and I'm trying to.
I meant outdoor pickup.
Saying street ball.
Well, you better be outside.
Outdoor pickup is what I mean by street ball. I don't mean you bring a club.
And what kind of neighborhood are you talking about playing outdoor pickup?
I used to play pickup in D.C. in not a good neighborhood pretty regularly, including with one of my clients.
Neighborhood or
No, in South.
Yeah, to give you an idea, Wife, of where I live.
Is it all white people? Is it all white people? What I'm asking is it all white people?
For me, yeah, the majority.
For me, Wife, the answer is no. In Portland and in D.C., the answer was a very firm no. And in one of the games I play in here.
Yeah, I've played in games where I'm the only white dude playing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I played here in.
I mean, to be honest, Cambridge is pretty mixed, but yeah, I mean it's mixed. I mean, especially when you're outdoor, playing ball.
We play, Bobbo. We play in the North End now.
Oh really? Where I play actually is because North End's inconvenient for me. Is right on Memorial. There's some courts. They actually have lights as well. I like the courts. That's where I've been playing. I used to play by Tufts, but now it's kind of annoying for me to get over there.
I was looking.
What's up? Sorry, I missed what you said.
No, I was looking for a good court recently near where I am in Cambridge. Just sometimes they hit after work, but I mean.
Well, there's courts by the water right along Memorial, and I like those courts. I used to play a lot more again at Tufts. In those games, it's varying competition. Sometimes the games are good, sometimes they're not.
So what you're saying, a lot of Kelly Olynyk's and not enough J.R. Smiths. How many, not how many?
Well, J.R. Smith is a suburban New Jersey guy. I don't know if you've ever heard the critiques of him, but he's more white than Kelly Olynyk. That's for sure.
That's
that's no, that's true for the record.
All right. let's say there's 10 people on the court. How many people, if there was a fight, would be all right with there being a fight? And how many people would say, man, guys, break it up?
I would say break it up. I'd say you guys are fucking idiots because it's basketball. You shouldn't be fighting here. I mean,
yeah, dude.
I don't care what other people would say or what they would think. I would say that.
No, we're all old. Listen, we're all old, but like when you say street ball, when you say street ball, I think elbow.
Well, no, that's not how people play that.
I think playing basketball.
Oh, sure
you're not supposed to. I mean, I don't know.
Viper, hold on.
It's funny.
Were you playing with like competitive people though? Be honest.
Oh, like when?
Like when you were playing street ball.
Absolutely. Like people that were went to were in community college trying to get D1 scholarships because they're 6'6", 200 pounds, but like flunk every grade, like that kind of shit. Like I'm just the guy that would just guard like I'm not good at all, but like I
have a couple stories about playing against NBA players for the record.
That's pretty cool. We should get into that. But what I was gonna just say is, if you're playing to end this point. For one thing, if you're playing against good players and someone's like fighting you or like hitting you hard, their friends are going to defend them. Like if you have a friend who's good and someone's going after them because they're good and they're getting frustrated, like other people will stand in. That's how it works in the street, man.
I told you guys before we started recording that like anymore when you're in your mid-30s and the people that have access to courts where you don't have to deal with like fucking 16-year-old kids. You start to filter out who can come and who can't based on don't be a dick,
Yeah, of course. So, I think that's reasonable.
But I think everyone's kind of like that, I mean, even on the street, man, like people have morals. People like care. It's not all just like people fighting each other. It's not like guerrilla warfare.
No, I'll tell you,
it's WoW in the street.
You know what I'll tell you is that of all the games I've ever played, the most unpleasant game I've ever been involved in was at an Equinox gym, which is a really expensive gym, and like those people are very bad at basketball, are very unpleasant to be around, and if you ever wanted to have people debate fouls and like shove each other about nothing all night, that's where you could play.
Those are the people that don't get invited back.
It's just,
fuck you.
You want to hear something funny? One of the most competitive games I've actually played in was at the MIT gym, of all places.
I played a bunch of good games at Georgetown, both on main campus and at the law school. There was a guy in law school who played at Harvard. Jonathan Wallace used to play with him sometimes. Like, that was real basketball.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds crazy saying things like that, but there's talent there, and they're like really actually obviously the overall there's gonna be some really bad players, but the guys that actually whether play for Harvard or whatnot are really good.
Anybody that regularly shows up to a gym to play basketball is going to be able to play basketball. Like I mean, you don't show up to play basketball as a swimmer. You're going to go swim. And anybody like MIT or Harvard or wherever you're talking about, Youngstown, if you're playing basketball, you semi know how to play basketball at least.
Yo, so Bobo, who are some of the famous people that you would play basketball with? NBA players.
Well, all right. So there's a famous story about Hashim Thabit that I played him one-on-one.
Oh God.
Okay. Unfortunately, that was made up. That was not true. That was a. Hold on, let me look up right now. Yeah, basically that story started as a troll with Wooderson and me. I guess he was Tut at that point. I'm not really sure. And for whatever reason, it fooled a lot of people, but that actually never happened. The best player I have played against, I actually guarded him a few times. What's his name? Look it up. Where is he? Pretty sure he went to Syracuse. He had like a unibrow.
He's skinny, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. He's in the league for like a little while.
Yeah, a couple of years.
God, I know who you're talking about.
And
who did he get drafted by?
He played for the. Didn't say the Raptors actually.
I can't remember who it is.
It'll come to me, I'm sure, as soon as we stop. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, the shoot is not all that many. It's not really much to brag about. And as far as my own basketball skills, I haven't actually played in a while. I've been dealing with a shoulder injury. It's just never going to get better. Yeah. Oh well.
You ever think about coaching? Like, you ever get into like coaching or coaching little kids or anything like that?
That would be fun. I should do that.
It is.
I would do that. Bobo, want to
Yeah, I
coach
should
the
do that.
want to coach a Cambridge team?
Yeah, actually, I would love that. I think that would be awesome.
We should try and do it. We should yeah, we should see. I don't know if I have any connections. I mean, I have connections to Harvard, like with people I know working there and stuff. But I don't know if they could put us in touch with like a school or a team that needs help or something. Or
Dude, it's easy to find places that need help. Like, there's a YMCA near me that I can
I'm
walk
sure
to.
like people are asking Harvard, MIT, like all these places for help with stuff. They're asking the local government for help with stuff. I bet we could find something.
It's
Man, come
fun.
to Youngstown.
We
Both
just-
of y'all, just move here. Just move here, man. I got
You
kids.
coach
I got all kinds of kids that got all kinds of athletic ability that have nobody to coach them, and all they do all day long is just show off on the court and got like no vision.
Why don't you coach them?
Yeah.
If you coach and you're a teacher, people from your class will be wanting to join. They'll have the opportunity. They'll see you in class. They'll like you. They'll be like, oh, it's teacher Wipers.
I
What
get stuck
happened?
doing that all the fucking time, and I don't want to, but like they got nothing else to do.
But wouldn't it be fun? Even if you did like cross
It's
country.
great fun. Oh shit, it's great fun. Absolutely. Like, I mean, I coached the basketball team this year. Like, it's great fun, but it's middle school kids that are, they're very skilled, but they've never been coached, and I'm trying to tell them, I don't want to be like a disciplinarian, but like they need to be able to listen.
They don't listen.
And maybe in their head, they may be more athletic than I am, but they don't understand basketball like I do. And I'm trying to teach it to them, and they don't want to listen.
No.
And at some point, they need somebody that'll step in and like.
Yes. All right. Thank you. I'll talk to you later. Hey, you guys there?
Yeah.
Hey.
All right. Quincy
There we
Doobie. That's what.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, I think we are coming up towards the end of what we said we'd do.
Let's do one more topic.
Okay. We set out to do about an hour. I think we're at an hour and 15. My timing has not been the greatest here, though.
Okay, so Summer League, I want to talk about real quick. Bobo was there last year. He goes every year. We met up. I met his father. It was really cool. We also played some pickup ball a couple times while we were there. We need to coordinate this better because that was a blast. And we need everyone there to be in on playing some pickup ball. We played it in LA Fitness, then we played over at UNLV, like A. Jones and a few other guys. And it was a great time.
Did you share the schedule last time? Do we have a schedule right now for when it should happen? Or potential dates?
We need to do that. We need to get organized about this because it was so much fun.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on board. I should be there, and so I'd be thrilled to participate. Just you got to keep in mind, first of all, my conditioning is pretty terrible because I've been kind of inactive.
It's fine, dude.
And I can't go hard in the paint anymore.
This isn't the most competitive game of all time. It's just a good time to get out there and like have some stuff to joke about after it's over.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on board. Trust me. I mean, I'm never gonna say no. The only thing I can't do is, for whatever reason, last time I was there, everyone played at like 7 in the morning or something.
Ooh.
And I can't do that. That's too early for me.
Yeah.
You know why that happened? Is
I'm not
because
doing that.
some of the Raptors guys were playing with us, or we were playing with them, or vice versa, and they were busy. So that was the only time they could do it.
All right.
Yeah, it's still like if you want me, you don't play at 7.
All right.
That's all I have to say about that.
I would definitely take the Raptors at 7.
Not the Raptors players. The Raptors like analytics guys and the trainers and a few other guys.
Well, that's still cool though.
It was awesome. It was so much fun.
Much more competitive. Were they any good?
Yeah, they can play. I mean, I cheer for the Raptors because those guys are such great dudes.
That's cool.
I love the Raptors because of that, and it was awesome.
The Raptors are also a likable team.
I think so, but even if they weren't, I wouldn't care because I want those guys to succeed.
Yeah, I cheer for them as well because a few of them are my friends, but I don't think they're a likable team. I don't like Dwayne Casey at all. But that's a whole nother
really. See, I think they're
topic for a whole nother day, huh?
I think they're like the underdog that they're never going to really go anywhere, but you like to see them try and put together an exciting team here and there. They play some exciting games. I mean, they used to have Vince Carter way back in the day. Those were pretty exciting times, but
they had Vince and T-Mac, dude.
Yep.
That's true. All right, guys. Well, I think we've pretty much accomplished what we set out to accomplish today.
All right, fellas. This was a real pleasure. Thank you for having me.
All right, excellent.
All right, Bobbo.
Thanks
All
for
right,
being
peace
on.
out, guys.
Maybe stay too. We might just be able to stop the broadcast. All right, later, everyone.